Jesus gathers with his 12 disciples in a large upper room near the southwestern wall of Jerusalem. They are preparing to share the Passover meal, the most important feast in the Jewish calendar. Today, we call this moment the Last Supper. As the meal progresses, Jesus begins to speak in a more solemn tone. He tells them that his time is near, that what lies ahead cannot be avoided. Then he says something that changes the room entirely. "One of you will betray me." For a moment, there is only silence. Then the tension begins to spread. The disciples look at one another, searching for answers in each other's faces. One by one, they turn back to him and ask, almost in disbelief, "Surely not I?" After the meal, they leave the upper room and step back into the night. Jerusalem is still alive. It is Passover, and pilgrims from across the region have filled the city. Jesus leads his disciples through the winding streets, heading east. Their destination is the Garden of Gethsemane, just outside the city wall, at the foot of the Mount of Olives. The distance is not far, about 2 kilometers. A walk of roughly 30 minutes, but the walk is difficult. The narrow streets twist and turn. Shadows stretch and move with the light of torches carried by passing crowds. And in the air, there may still linger the faint smell of animals sacrificed earlier that day for the Passover rituals. The garden is quieter, darker. Jesus turns to his disciples and asks them to wait. Then he takes Peter, James, and John further into the garden. There, he begins to speak openly. He tells them his soul is overwhelmed with sorrow. Then, leaving even the 3 behind, he walks deeper into the darkness, alone. Jesus falls to his knees and begins to pray. The Gospels describe this moment as one of intense inner struggle. He prays alone, then returns to the disciples. But they cannot stay awake. He finds them sleeping. Again he withdraws. Again he prays. This cycle repeats several times. Between solitude and disappointment, between fear and surrender. Then, suddenly, there's movement in the darkness. They are armed. Torches cut through the night. At the front of the group is a familiar face, Judas, one of the 12. He walks directly toward Jesus without hesitation. Then he leans in, kisses him, and says, "Rabbi." It is a signal. Immediately, the guards surge forward and seize Jesus. The moment explodes into chaos. Peter reacts instantly. He draws his sword and strikes one of the men, cutting off his ear. But Jesus stops him. "Put your sword back in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword." There is no resistance after that. Jesus is taken away. Jesus is brought before the high priest, Caiaphas. Caiaphas is not just a religious authority. He is a political figure, carefully balancing power under Roman rule. Stability matters to him above all, and Jesus, with his growing influence and bold claims, has long been seen as a threat. Now the confrontation is direct. Caiaphas asks, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus answers, "You have said so." It is not a simple yes, not a clear no, but it is enough. To Caiaphas, it confirms everything he feared. The verdict is decided. But there is a limitation. The Jewish authorities cannot carry out a death sentence. For that, they must turn to Rome. At first light, Jesus is brought before the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, the only authority who can order a crucifixion. Pilate questions him directly, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answers, "You say so. My kingdom is not of this world." According to the Gospels, Pilate repeatedly says, "I find no guilt in him." He appears reluctant to condemn Jesus. But outside, pressure is building. Jerusalem is filled with crowds for Passover, and the situation is becoming unstable. The word king carries dangerous political implications under Roman rule. It suggests a challenge to imperial authority. Faced with growing tension and the risk of unrest, Pilate makes his decision. Jesus will be flogged and crucified. The whipping begins. This is not a simple beating. The Roman whip is designed to destroy the body. Multiple leather strands, each tipped with sharp pieces of metal. With every strike, the metal tears into the skin. Flesh is ripped open, muscle exposed. The pain is overwhelming, but it does not end there. The soldiers begin their mockery. They force a crown of thorns onto his head, pressing it down until it pierces the skin. They drape a worn, faded robe over his shoulders. They place a reed in his hand. Then they kneel before him, not in reverence, but in ridicule. Jesus is led out toward Golgotha, the place of execution. The distance is short, no more than 500 meters. Under normal conditions, it would take only minutes to walk. But Jesus is no longer capable of such a walk. His body has been pushed to its limits. Still, he is forced to carry the crossbeam across his shoulders, nearly 40 kilograms. Each step is a struggle. He stumbles, he falls. At some point, he can no longer continue. A passerby, Simon of Cyrene, is pulled from the crowd and forced to carry the beam in his place. The crucifixion begins. Jesus is stripped of his clothing and laid down on the wood. Nails are driven through his wrists, fixing him to the crossbeam. The beam is then lifted and secured to the vertical post. His feet are placed together, and another nail is driven through them. The position forces the body into a slow, exhausting struggle to breathe. Crucifixion is not meant to be quick. It is meant to prolong suffering. Victims often remain alive for 1 to 3 days. But Jesus does not last that long. The night of interrogation, the exhaustion, the severe flogging, all of it has already taken its toll. According to the Gospels, when the report reaches Pilate, he says, "Already dead?" It is earlier than expected. In the Roman world, crucifixion is a message. Bodies are usually left hanging, a warning to others. But Jewish law forbids leaving a body on the cross overnight. The priests make their request. Permission is granted. Before sunset, Jesus' body is taken down. Around 6 p.m., he is placed in a tomb. The day comes to an end, but the story does not.